George Hogan Streetman was born on June 19, 1946 in Vero Beach, Florida, to Cola Streetman and Myrtle Hogan Streetman. At the time, Cola was the president and general manager of Hogan & Sons, a growing and packing business that began as a tomato farming business in the early 1930s and expanded to citrus in the 1940s. By the 1960s, the operation became entirely devoted to citrus.
Well, my father's father was in the industry. They started in tomatoes in the 30s and then branched out to citrus. They did citrus and tomatoes and then went full citrus.
Because of this, George was quickly introduced to the agricultural industry, working in the groves with his father from the time he was 5 years old until he graduated from Vero Beach High School, where he excelled in baseball, golf, and football. He was part of the undefeated conference football champions his senior year, earning a spot on the all-conference second team, and he still holds the record for the longest touchdown return at 91 yards. He graduated from the University of Florida in 1969 with a degree in business administration before serving in the U.S. Army from 1969 through 1971. Upon returning home from the service in 1971, George joined his father in the operation of Hogan & Sons, becoming president in 1972 and developing the company into a prominent and well-respected packing house. In 1976, he married his wife Sandy, and together they have two children, Megan and Kevin, who worked in the family business with him. However, George wasn't just a successful businessman. He was also a leader and an advocate, serving on numerous boards and committees that were responsible for bringing improvements and attention to the industry. George served on the original board of directors for the New Varieties Development and Management Corporation in 2005, and also served 7 years on the Florida Citrus Commission, including positions such as chairman, vice chairman, and international marketing chair.
George was a part of that marketing group that decided what went where, how it went, and he traveled a lot. A lot of our gentlemen here that served on our board had to travel to Europe and Japan to open these markets and to meet with the importers and to bring them here. When we brought teams from Europe or Japan, George was always a part of that.
Everybody loves George, and he just and vice versa. And he used that ability in his leadership role in our industry, which kind of culminated in the chairmanship of the Citrus Commission.
George did a lot of Japanese selling himself. He had a solid customer base. So when he was on the commission, he was on the international committee, and that was part of the forte. He was really good at understanding export business.
In addition, George served on the Citrus Administrative Committee as the chairman for over 20 years and was instrumental in creating the 4856 rule, which limited the volume of small-sized fruit to stabilize supplies and increase grower returns.
George was always the one to seek middle ground, and he did it at my board of directors. I saw it at the Packers and at the Citrus Commission. Everybody trusted George to find the good middle ground, the high ground for the industry to move forward, something that was fair to everybody.
He also served as the president of the Florida Citrus Packers and on numerous committees within the Indian River Citrus League. His commitment to advocating for the Florida citrus industry while also running a successful fruit packing business was truly remarkable.
Well, George had to run a family business. That's always challenging, especially when you're second or third generation. Multiple family members, multiple issues going on there, and he was able to juggle that along with giving back to this industry. And he's recognized as a leader. Clearly, he's recognized as a leader as we induct him into the Hall of Fame. That proves what his leadership was. And it's not easy. He went through a period of time where there was a lot of challenges with canker and outside growers and doing his family groves and trying to balance that with outside growers. It's not very easy to do that, and he did it in a very meaningful, positive way.
George has received several awards over the years that highlight his leadership, commitment, and contributions to the citrus industry.
The PIC program was the first time the USDA ever had a public-private partnership. And the importance of it is that it was set up, instead of having inspectors on site, they relied on manuals so that they'd come in and audit certain areas or critical points of the packing house. George wrote the first manual, and that was the guideline we all use from then on. In fact, it's rolled out across the country with a lot of commodities now that are in place that were never done before. That is why he got the Hammer Award from the vice president.
In 2015, George was presented with the Legends of the River Award from the Indian River Citrus League for his outstanding leadership and service, as well as the prestigious John T. Leslie Award for Excellence in 2019 by the Florida Citrus Packers.
The Indian River it's just on fire. And George was a part of that. He was a part of a group of men that crafted and met on the export markets and what to do, how to do it, how to get MAP funding, how to market it over there, because it's unique, as you know, how to market in Europe and in Japan and Korea is different than how you market here.
George served as president of Hogan & Sons until the packing house was forced to close its doors in 2016. But he has remained active in the Florida citrus industry in various roles.
Well, the Hogan family's been here in the industry in Indian River District for a very long time. George is, I believe, third generation. It's unique from the fact that I believe that his father is also in the Hall of Fame, George Streetman. He was a son-in-law of the Hogans. He ran the packing house. George followed in his footsteps, and now we have a father and son from this area that are in the Hall of Fame, and deservingly so.
When his business closed in 2016, George did what he needed to do. You have to sell equipment, you have to let employees go, you handle the final affairs of the operation. But even after all that, which is really depressing and is tough emotionally, after all of that, he still retained his love of citrus and his relationships with a lot of the people in the business, which is what makes him the person that he is today. He's a good man.
Outside of the industry, George served his community of Indian River County through his involvement in several non-citrus organizations. He is a past president of the 100 Club of Indian River County and was on the board of various area banks.
Bill Penny attributes his knowledge of lending in agriculture to his interaction with George while George was on a board that Bill was serving on the bank as a lead lender. He didn't know anything about lending in ag, and George schooled him on that, and Bill is now the president of the local community bank, and he attributes his knowledge to how to lend on ag to his interaction with George Streetman.
Much like his father, George Streetman, who is also in the Citrus Hall of Fame, George was always willing to step forward and invest the time and hard work to solve problems and help bridge solutions on behalf of the entire industry.
Oh, God, he's probably the ultimate consensus builder. He can step across a lot of different lines. I mean, lines meaning different types of people. Everybody communicates with him. He's got an entree with all the different levels that exist in our industry, and where everybody can't say that. But George was very unique that everybody take his phone call.
He is well respected, not only for his vision, but his ability to work closely with state and federal agencies to develop regulatory programs that were practical, effective, and complementary of commercial practices.
He never lost sight of what's important in life, and he balanced it out very well.
Just as a class act.
That's the job I got to do, is keep George humble.
Sunk in a couple days later, he was just very humbled by it. Thank you for introducing me to this industry, and congratulations, Dad.
Perhaps more than anything, George H. Streetman represented the industry with dignity and with strength. And we're proud to have him join his father, George Streetman, as a member of the Florida Citrus Hall of Fame.